Colin Kaepernick has opted out of his contract with the 49ers. Wow. Colin opted out of his contract. It was we had 1 year left on the contract. He had an opt out, and he decided to go the road of the opt out. As a 49er fan, it doesn't surprise me that he opted out. I was expecting him to, especially after that report came out that he was gonna opt out. What but you know, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here and what the 49ers decide to do. The 49ers do not have any quarterbacks on their roster right now because either they had a 1 year deal or a 1 year left on their contract or they had an opt out like Colin Kaepernick did. What should the 49ers do? Well, the 49ers should maybe wait and see if they make a trade for their team. Maybe Patriots saying they're not going to trade Garoppolo. Let's see what they end up doing. Could they make a play for AJ McCarron? Could they draft a quarterback, or could they bring Colin back on a 1 year deal? It's going to be interesting to see what teams decide to do if they signed Colin Kaepernick. Because one, the whole kneeling during the national anthem. What our two teams want a guy who's going to bring maybe that into their locker room and into their with that fan base. Is the fan base going to want to deal with that? It's going to be interesting to see. As a 49er fan, it kind of sucks to see Colin leave. He was been one of my favorite players to watch, no matter what he was doing, whether he was starting or he had his injuries or teams or if he was benched. Now, it's just hard, man. I mean, I've watched this guy play for a while now, and you get used to seeing those guys. As he led the 49ers to all those NFC Championship games, as he's led the 49ers to to that one Super Bowl where he was just a couple yards short of that Super Bowl title. It's going to be weird, maybe not possibly seeing him as a 49er next year. In my opinion, he can still be that great player he once was, and he's not that far away from being that player. It wasn't that long ago when he was beating all these teams and he was just explosive and all these things. Are teams gonna want to wait and see? Are they gonna want to figure out if he can really do it? In my opinion, I think he can go back to what he once was, and if he's in the right organization, the right team, he will go back to what he once was, and I very much hope he does. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where he was beating the Patriots. When he was beating the Packers, he's 3-1 against the Packers in his career. He has great numbers against the Packers. What are teams going to do? What teams are linked to Colin Kaepernick? As far as I know, there's the Jets, the Bills, Denver was once linked to them. I don't know if they're still linked anymore, but, who knows? Who knows? I mean, like I said, I think Colin should consider signing a 1 year deal and waiting and seeing what teams want to do, because a lot of teams need a quarterback, but there's not a lot of guys in free agency out there. You might have to make a trade, and the draft class isn't deep. What are teams going to want to do? Are they going to want to take on what Colin wants? Who knows how much money Colin wants? Maybe he wants a lot of money. Maybe he wants to start, and maybe teams aren't willing to give him that starting spot. In my opinion, he deserves to be a starter. And, I mean, although in the last couple of years he's looked bad, in my opinion, it was because of him not being around the best roster. As he went on, I mean, even the years where the Niners went 8-8, he had career high numbers. Now, every season after that, his numbers went down. Well, the teams didn't get better; they got worse. Guys left. Either they retired, or they left for free agency. Bad moves by a GM, not bringing them back, and not bringing in more talent to fix the team. And this year, Colin didn't play a full season. although he did not play a full season, when he was in the games, he looked pretty good. He didn't start until they played the Bills, and he didn't look great right away. But over time, you saw it's the old Colin back. Colin's kind of back. It's the guy who beat up on the Packers, who beat up on all these teams, and you saw that 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 Colin that was once taking the 49ers to the playoffs. Um, can he still take a team to the playoffs? I think he can. The 49ers didn't get another win until against the Rams, and you saw why he was he was named the starter in the first place way back when, because he was made the big play, and he got the big play, and in that game you saw him fight for that 2-point conversion as he dove over he didn't really dive over anybody, but he made sure that he got in the end zone. And that's the Colin that would make the big play. Now, Colin was a great quarterback because all he had to do was be a game manager. He didn't have to, be, the Peyton Manning where he had to make all. He had to be a game manager, and he had a coach who, he could trust, who had faith in him. Now, Jim Tomsula benched him. Chip Kelly didn't start him right away, but Jim Harbaugh said, that's my quarterback. He has the hot hand. He started him over Alex Smith. Although Colin didn't get many wins in his, not his final year, but in this last year, there were times where, man, if we would have made that one play, we would have won this game. And and Colin had a big deal. I mean, there was a game that was similar to the Rams games against the Dolphins, where it was 1 yard away and the 49ers would have won that game. It looked similar to the Rams game, but this time, instead of, falling short against the Dolphins, like he did against the Dolphins, he dove and went past into the end zone, touchdown, 49ers get their second win of the season. Colin Kaepernick, man. Colin Kaepernick. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this offseason, whether he comes back, whether he doesn't come back, what the 49ers do at quarterback. It's going to be interesting. I hope, as a 49er fan, I hope he does come back. He was one of my favorite players to watch, and not seeing him in a 49ers uniform would be weird, especially, if he were to go to a team I really don't like, then that's going to be the even worse part, Colin, man. Good luck in your future endeavors, man. Hopefully you come back as a 49er. Hopefully you get your career back on track.